liberty, where Romans rode, Saxons sacked and started our history. This self-reliant, sprawling giant of a city came to be. London, London, that's my hometown. London, London, that's my hometown. For cordiality, hospitality, London sets the pace. People come here from far and near, there's no finer place. Stately, beautiful, big of heart, city of renown. London, London, that's my hometown. London, London, that's my hometown. I've seen some fabulous cities all around the world. Rome, Tokyo, and New York, I've given them all a whirl. I know why they sing the Paris in spring, but no place I've found beats London, London, that's my hometown. London, London, that's my hometown.
B-I-G-L, Radio London.
Listen to the sound. It's the sound of music. Yes, on October the 1st, Radio London pushes forward with an entirely new sound for you on this channel. A sound that'll open up a new chapter in Radio London's history as the #1 commercial station in Great Britain. October 1, it's near, it's new, it's the date we burst open with the new sound of
Music. That's our middle name. Wonderful. Music. B-I-G-L. Radio London. Music now.
If you want to sell in England, if you want to tell everybody what you've got, radio's the way to do it. Radio London is the very spot.
For further information about Radio London and what it can mean to you, contact Radlon Sales Limited, 17 Curzon Street, London. Do it today.
Call Mayfair 5361.
Well, if you're feeling down, come on and get happy. With wonderful Radio London. Wonderful Radio London. News around the clock.
It's smooth sailing with the highly successful sound of wonderful Radio London.
Here's the latest weather word on wonderful Radio London.
Wonderful Radio London, where your hearing swings. The music sings on Wonderful Radio London. Big L.
This is wonderful Radio London, where you're hearing things, where you're hearing things. Wonderful Radio London.
Much more music every morning. Radio London for you and me. Radio London means more and more music on Wonderful. B-I-G-L. Wonderful music means B-I-G-L.
It's Stewart here with Myrtle. Hello, Myrtle. Hello, dear. And Paul. Well, we've got fun for the next hour, haven't we?
Yes, indeed, and we're not alone with Myrtle because we also have...
Hi, this is Duncan Johnson. Well, times have really changed since way back in 1964 when I was one of the small group that helped to pioneer commercial radio in Britain. And with the demise of Radio London, an era has ended. One that I hope will start again, anew, somewhere, sometime.
It's smooth sailing with the highly successful sound of wonderful Radio London.
Hello, Big L listeners. Kenny Everett here. Big L will always be remembered as the fantastic radio station it is today because it's being chopped off at its prime, and anything that happens like that usually is remembered for years and years and years. I think that if people do their bit and keep on remembering Big L and keep pestering for commercial radio to come back, then the same people who are in it now will take over again, and we'll get Big L once again, only this time on land, so it'll be clearer, it'll be better in every way. So let's keep thinking about Big L and all the tremendous people you've heard on the air, like Kenny Everett and Dave Cash. I'd like to say thanks to Dave Cash too, because the Kenny Cash program was really a gas to do.
Hello everybody, this is Dave Cash, a voice you probably haven't heard on Radio London for quite a while. Big L gave the Kenny Cash program the biggest boost that ever happened.
Happiness is
T.W.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Great to be back on Radio London. Even if it is for this sad occasion. So many memories, so many friends that I've made among the listeners, and so many friends I've made among the crew and the disc jockeys that have worked from time to time from Radio London. And I think my closing thoughts would be how pleased I am that, particularly on Radio London, so many DJs have emerged, and you'll be able to hear them in the future.
Esta es la estación número una en London, England. Es mi favorita. Wonderful Radio London. Olé!
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very thankful for this last opportunity to say goodbye and best wishes to Radio London's vast audience, to the wonderful team of Radio London, to the professional team of Radio London, to the incredulously loyal audience, and to all my friends that have heard me when I was at my best and at my worst. I bid you fond farewell, cheers, take care, and God bless.
Here's the latest weather word on wonderful Radio London.
There'll be fresh southerly winds. There is an unsettled outlook for tomorrow.
Greetings to this is Keith Skues, and saying, rather sadly for the second time around, goodbye. It was only some 3 weeks ago that I said cheerio before I went off on holiday, and now, having returned today and duly been suntanned on both my left and right kneecap, I find that the Marine Offences Bill is about to become law. Well, Keith Skues signing off now, wishing you everything you wish yourselves.
Have you ever been?
Have you ever been?
Well, needless to say, you're okay with wonderful Radio London.
You're listening to the final minutes in the life of Radio London and to the voices of DJs past and present.
Hello everyone, this is Tony Blackburn here. I think this station to me has given everything, and everything I now have I owe to Radio London. And it's also been a terrific pleasure working this last year with Radio London because the people connected with it. They're an absolutely marvellous crowd behind the scenes, and it's been so nice working with people who are really enthusiastic and all with the same aim. In other words, to pioneer commercial radio.
This is Pete Drummond. I've been with Radio London for 11.5 months, and I would have liked to have made it a year, but when the Postmaster General says go, well, I suppose one has to go. Truthfully, Radio London has been a unique station where freedom of speech and music has not been denied to the disc jockeys or to the audience. I doubt you'll ever see the like of it again. Thank you anyway for listening to me, and I hope we'll meet again very soon. I love you all.
Well, thank you, Dum Dum.
Wonderful Radio London. Whoopee.
Have you ever been?
Have you ever been?
Well, needless to say, you're okay with wonderful Radio London.
Well, what more can I say? It's time for me to say goodbye. When I think back to about 2.5 years ago when I arrived back in England from Hong Kong, a penniless bass player and a hick jock, and then Radio London gave me the chance to come into your homes, which has been the most wonderful thing in the last 2 years. It's given me the chance to meet Myrtle, get a name of Stewart. In fact, it's given me a complete life for 2 whole years as I've been out here on the ship, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Well, Paul, you are the only original member of the original crew left here on Radio London, so that means you've done 2 2/3 years. Now, not only have you been there all that time, but a few weeks before Radio London ever went on the air. Have you any sort of memory? Can you take yourself back those times and tell us something about the old days?
Well, yes, I can. Of course, it was nothing like as comfortable as it is now. Things have improved progressively as the station has become more successful, and we've got things a bit more right on the boat. There was a time when we didn't know how much water we used, let alone how much we were going to need next day, you know. And that's why I grew the beard, actually, incidentally. It's no water, you see, at one stage, so I gave up shaving. I think the other thing that's difficult to imagine now, because Radio London's a household word and we've got lots and lots of listeners, but in those days we weren't at all sure if we had any at all. And in the very early days, we'd only been transmitting for a few weeks. I was driving down from Shepherd's Bush in a car, and I had to stop rather hurriedly at the lights, and a bicycle came screaming up behind me and nearly went into the boot. And a rather angry gentleman on the bicycle just paddled his way round to the driver's side window and said, "Wonderful Radio London." I realised I had a sticker in the back window, and I also realised we'd got at least one listener.
Wonderful Radio London. News around the clock.
Hello, this is John Peel, and I've only been with Radio London about 5 months, but during those 5 months I've met some very nice, very kind people, and I've enjoyed myself very much indeed, and in some way myself and the Perfume Garden will get back to you. Thank you.
Some mention has been made of the fact that mine was the first voice to be heard on Radio London. It will also be the last in regrettably few minutes from now. But before that, please allow me to introduce the Managing Director of Radio London, Mr. Philip Birch.
During the past 3 years, I feel that Radio London has done very little harm, but an awful lot of good. During those 3 years, it's helped organizations such as the Institute for the Blind, Oxfam, the Cancer Fund, the Lifeboat Service, to raise funds for their very worthwhile causes. It saved the life of an airman who bailed out of over the North Sea and was picked up by Radio London's tender. In closing, I would like to give my personal thanks to all of the staff at 17 Curzon Street, to all of the DJs, to Captain Bunninger and his crew, to the 1,027 advertisers who have supported Radio London in the last 3 years and used Radio London to help sell their products. But most of all, I'd like to thank you, one of the 12 million listeners in the UK and the 4 million listeners in Holland, France, Belgium, Germany, and the other countries on the continent, for all of the support that you have given Radio London during the last 3 years.
Big L time is 3 o'clock, and Radio London is now closing down.
Wonderful Big L. Wonderful Big L, wonderful Radio London.
U luistert naar Radio Veronica, het station waar muziek in zit. Koffietijd.
Radio Caroline, 14 as a day. This is Radio Caroline, 14 as a day. Music all day and every day. This is Radio Caroline, 7 days a week.
It's smooth sailing with the highly successful sound of wonderful Radio London.
Well, if you're feeling down, come on and get happy with wonderful Radio London.
Wonderful Radio London. Have you heard?
Please allow me to introduce the Managing Director of Radio London, Mr. Philip Birch.
It came about because of Caroline. It came about actually a bit earlier than that because the Swedish station, that and Veronica, had been on air for some time before Caroline, and I think they inspired Caroline. And then Caroline came on air and did it incredibly badly because Caroline's approach to commercial broadcasting was one that was completely out of touch with reality. Their idea was that they thought they needed a commercial station in order to provide a facility for records to be aired. At that time, if you produced a record in this country, if the BBC, for some reason, for its own perfectly good reasons, didn't like to broadcast it, it got no exposure, and so the chances of making a sale or making a hit with a record were quite small because there was just no exposure opportunity. And that was what was behind Caroline.
Record fan. There's a Radio Caroline record shop in your town. The shop with the bell in the window. The record shop to get the records you hear on this station. The shop where you get photographs of the DJs and the good ship Caroline. The place to join the Caroline Club. Keep listening. In Stockport, Cheshire, there's Neildon Hardy Limited of 14 Great Underbank. In Manchester, it's the Jamboree, 60 Victoria Street, Manchester 3. In Bury, Melody Fair Limited at 24 Market Street. In Colne, the Almain Company, 34 Market Street. In Oldham, Discland Limited of Market Avenue. In Warpton, Discland Limited of Arndale House, Bolton Road. And in Ashton-under-Lyne, The Groove, 8, 10 and 12 George Street, Ashton. So now you know where to get the latest and greatest records, photographs of Radio Caroline and the DJs, and where you can join the Caroline Club. If you missed any names, write to 61 Lord Street, Liverpool 2, and they'll be happy to tell you of your nearest official Radio Caroline record shop, the record shop with a bell in the window.
Thank you very much indeed, Carl. The time on Caroline? Now, let's see, it's 23 minutes before 9 o'clock. 23 minutes before 9, you're listening to the early show coming to you from Radio Caroline, your all-day music station, situated at 199 meters on your medium wave band. Stay tuned to us. We've got all the best sounds for you.
When Caroline came on air, although it had a quite a following in that it was a very romantic era in broadcasting from the seas, it was incredibly badly managed, and the whole thing was a financial disaster. In fact, Caroline was pretty consistently a financial disaster from beginning to end. Not absolutely all the time, but the majority of the time. And of course, the result also was that it didn't sound as good as a commercial station should sound. And of course, this is likely to be when, in fact, if you have a radio station and your purpose is to promote certain records, then you'll tend to give those overexposure, and you will not be taking those records or broadcasting them on merit, but you will be broadcasting them because you have a financial interest. And that in itself made the sound wrong. So I was talking about this to a friend of mine, an old friend of mine, and together we got the idea, well, you know, we could do it so much better. I could do it so much better because he was an American. And so we got on the phone to a number of old friends, and everybody coughed up some money, and off we went, and it started from there.
Wonderful Big L, Radio London. Wonderful Big L.
Wonderful Radio London.
Wonderful Radio London.
The whole thing was a strange sort of gamble in that I had worked for J. Walter Thompson for almost 15 years. It was just about 15 years. And most of that time had been in the United States. And coincidentally, I had that summer, I think, been thinking of doing other things. In fact, I had a property company that I'd set up when I arrived back in the UK 2 or 3 years earlier. That was doing fine because property was very successful in those days, and many years since it's been successful. I mean, not that company, because I decided to wind that company down because I couldn't possibly do that and Radio London. But what I'm really saying is that I was ready to move out of advertising, and I didn't quite know which direction I was going in, although I was thinking property. So when I left J. Walter Thompson, I can remember the managing director of J. Walter Thompson said that he thought I was out of my mind because I had a marvelous career with JWT and I was throwing it all up, that the government was going to bring in legislation that would put us out of business within 6 months. And the fairly substantial amount of money that we had to find for the ship and the whole cash flow, the operation, I mean, employing all those people before we started broadcasting, would go down the drain. So I can remember replying that I've done my sums very carefully, and I figured that if we could survive 18 months and the government would stay away from us for 18 months, we could survive more or less forever, because by that time we would be completely viable and financially successful. His reply was, "You're out of your mind. You'll be sunk within 6 months." And it was very sensible advice. I mean, I'm not in any way saying he was wrong, because it certainly seemed like that, but I just very much wanted to do it, and sometimes I suppose one does things on the basis of intuition and forgets good judgment, and I don't recommend it to anyone, but in this particular case I did want to do it, and it paid off.
If you want to sell in England, if you want to tell everybody what you've got, radio's the way to do it. Radio London is the very spot.
We decided that we would do it in a completely professional way. I mean, we knew how to do it in a completely professional way. We knew that one needs jingles for links, and one needs it for the whole sort of sound and the speed of presentation, the vitality of the station. So we went to Pam's because one of my colleagues lives in Dallas, and so that was easy. But of course I knew of Pam's because I lived in New York for many years, and Pam's, among many other things, supplied the jingles for New York's most successful light entertainment station, which was WABC.
Music Power 77 New York WABC. Power 77 New York WABC. Wow! 77 WABC. Music Power. WABC.
KFWB, Channel 98. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wonderful Radio London, biggest sound around Big L.
Anyway, so we got our jingles produced there, and then we had to set about buying a ship. And one of the partners knew somebody who knew somebody. It was one of those things, who had this old American minesweeper, which I think had a Spanish name at the time because it had been used as some kind of a cargo ship. And so we bought it and changed its name to Galaxy because one of the things in the presentation of Radio London was to talk big. You remember we called it Big L. We wanted to do it in a big and professional way. And Galaxy means big, and it also means stars. And so we liked that. That was the reason behind. We even thought of calling it Radio Galaxy, but that was inconsistent with our overall aims of. We really believed that commercial radio would come, and we wanted to be in the vanguard of that. I mean, we hoped. We didn't succeed, but we hoped that we would eventually be licensed to broadcast from the shore.
From a very modest beginning in antiquity, where Romans roamed, Saxons sacked, and started our history, this self-reliant, sprawling giant of a city came to be. London, London, that's my hometown. London, London, that's my hometown.
The Twinkle came in July '64, and we were on air just before Christmas. It was December 23rd, that sort of date of 1964. So in that 5 months, we sort of raised the money, bought the ship, fitted the ship out with the 50,000 watt RCA transmitter and the enormous mast, sailed it across the Atlantic. I mean, we had a professional crew sail it across the Atlantic and set it up in the North Sea and start broadcasting. It was a fairly busy 5 months. The heating in the ship was completely inadequate. I mean, there were so many things that when we set up station off Frinton that we had to put right, because our poor crew were freezing and our DJs were freezing, and we had to really finish it off this side of the Atlantic.
This is wonderful.